So, I'm not the kind of therapist that pussyfoots around. I like to dig in fast and I give feedback. Stop fidgeting. What are you doing with your arm?
Nothing. I'm just nervous.
Put your hands in your lap. Focus. Sit up. Good posture sends positive messages to the brain. We're here to work. So, what are your issues? Give them to me.
Well, I am sad about this breakup I just went through.
She left you.
Yes.
And now you feel rejected and unlovable and you can't understand why she no longer loves you.
Yes.
You do know that she's not the only source of love for you in the world.
But I want her love.
We don't get everything we want in life. You don't get to ever love. That's it. End of story. Next issue.
Hey guys, it's Talks with Kenny and welcome to Inconvenient Truths. Today we're going to be giving a little discussion about therapy. So I ran into, you saw the clip. I forgot it was Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh sparked outrage yet again, and it sparked this grand debate about therapy. And I kind of want to chime in my little 2 cents, my unsolicited 2 cents into this conversation. And one of the things I think that I think the assumption that therapy is inherently good for everyone is false. I don't believe that therapy is a one size fit all. I don't think everyone needs therapy. I don't even think people who think people need therapy actually do need therapy. I think, like in the intro you saw before, you just need someone to hold you accountable, help you understand the reality of your situation and come to terms with that reality. I think that should be the ethos of all therapeutic practice and processes and approach. And the intro, the reason I wanted to lead in with that intro is that style of, I guess, I don't know what you call, I'm not scientific with this, but that approach to therapy, I think, is the most effective way of talking to somebody, making them recognize the reality of their situation. For instance, if I was in a therapy session, right, and this is one of the reasons why men don't go to therapy. A lot of therapists, and it's female dominated, by the way, it comes across like they project on, whoa, it'll work good for me, but it should work for this patient. And not every patient is the same. For one patient, you prescribe medicine, for the other, you don't, because maybe this person has higher pain tolerance than this other patient. But this idea that just sitting there, wallowing in your feelings, talking it out. Oh, I feel depressed. Oh, why do you feel depressed? You feel like you need the sense of people's validation. Why do you feel that way? Why you need people's validation? It could be, hey, you need to stop worrying about what other people think about you and start worrying about what you need to do for your life, because you can't control whether they like you or not, but you can only control what you do. So focus on that, right? I think the way you express these ideas, I think it brings men out more. Like, I believe the therapeutic, this is the inconvenient truth about therapy, is that it's centered around a female way approach, a feminine approach to resolving problems, right? This is not the first time I talked about therapy, but I always make the joke about, like, with my wife, when she comes and complains about me to something, I look at her and say, you want me to fix it or you just want to complain? And for a lot of women, they just want to complain. The idea of just expressing it out is enough. But for me, when I got problems, I don't like talking to my wife about it. I'm just like, yo, I need a solution to this problem. And I think that's the difference. You even see the gender differences of how men look at trauma, setbacks, obstacles. Women look at it for, oh, I need to express my displeasure with the situation, while men's like, how can I solve this situation? And the way the therapist talk to the guy, hey, stand up straight. Do these things. It'll help you feel better. Stop doing this stuff. Stop doing stuff that make you unhappy. Quit your job. Find another job. Oh, that's hard. Well, you want to stay miserable or you actually want to fix your problem? We need that calling out nature. We need that tough love, if you want to put it that way. And I think this is one reason why mental health is such a big issue in our culture, because we have taken a very feminine approach of how we address mental issues and setbacks and how people cope with stress in our society. And I think this is from a video from Psych Hacks. I think this is one of the arguments that I think Matt Walsh brought to the forefront is, hey, we need to evaluate, is therapy really inherently good for everyone in society? Or is just, hey, some people can use it, some people don't. But this idea that, oh, therapy is just automatically good. Like if I told some random person, oh, I think you should go to therapy, no one will give me any pushback for that. But if I say, I don't think you need to go to therapy, I just think you need to stop doing the things that's causing you to be depressed, or accept the reality of a situation and move on, people are going to be like, oh, no, Kenny, you can't destroy. I don't know what is this like culture we have of protecting therapy. I don't understand. I think it's a very left-wing view on things. I think this is why a lot of men don't go to therapy. Women disproportionately go to therapy more than men, but also women report having they're less satisfied with their mental health, less satisfied with their life. Liberal women specifically are the unhappiest people in America, and those women, the liberal women I'm talking about, tend to go to therapy more. So in my view, I'm like, okay, like it's not a one size fit all solution here. That's the argument I'm trying to make, and I'm trying to express why someone like me think I'll never need therapy. I don't care if I go to depression, because for me, depression is a reaction of me not being satisfied with the current situation I am in my life. If I'm depressed about something, it means that's a signal saying that I need to change something in my life. Now, if the change requires great effort, then I have a choice to make. Hey, do you put in the work to do something about your situation, or do what's comfortable and stay comfortable in the environment? And I think that's what really causes depression. That you just stay in the environment, you sit in your woes, you sit in your problems because you think it's too hard to change. And they always say change is outside of your comfort zone. If you keep doing things that are comfortable for you, you only guaranteed to stay in the mess. And this is how people get prescribed medicine, get clinically diagnosed as depressed, because I believe they're not willing to do the hard decisions that'll actually make their life a better state to live in. But I digress. Let's get into this video with Psych Hacks. I want to dive in a little bit further of why men don't go to therapy. And let's look at his quick synopsis, a quick clip, and then I'll review some of the video in the next clip. Let's take a look.
As many people were unwilling to see Freud as a physician, he kind of had to content himself with seeing the patients that the other doctors wouldn't take on, patients who were, like himself, second-class citizens in that society. And that meant that he saw a lot of women, or at least more women than he likely otherwise would have seen as an establishment physician. And it was in the context of a female-dominated practice that Freud extrapolated his observations that eventually became the theory of psychoanalysis. We often ascribe to Freud this notion that psychotherapy is the talking cure, that if people lie down on the couch and talk about their problems sufficiently, they tend to feel better and resolve their own neurotic illnesses. That's an oversimplification, but it's kind of the gist of it. Now, Freud did promulgate the idea of psychotherapy as the talking cure, but he didn't actually invent the term. That term was given to him by one of his first female patients, whom we know through his notes as Anna O. Initially, Freud approached his treatment of her in the traditional medical model of top-down paternalism. Anna, however, had the temerity to basically tell Freud to just shut up and listen. And because Freud kind of needed the business, he went along with it as an experiment. And lo and behold, he discovered that, in this patient at least, her neurotic symptoms did improve when he just shut up and let her talk. A lot of women in my audience are probably rolling their eyes at this given moment, but it was kind of a revolutionary moment in the history of psychiatry. The foundations of modern psychotherapy are firmly rooted in this notion that the very act of talking about your thoughts and feelings is inherently therapeutic and cathartic.
So you guys got a little background on like how the current state of therapy is and why a lot of men don't agree with that. I don't think you solve a lot of problems for men, and this is why there's the gender gap, the gender gap with therapy. This is why men don't go to therapy, right? And I always see it online on TikTok, these influencers bashing men. Oh, men don't know how to process their emotions. No, men do know how to process their emotions. It's just men don't process emotion the same way women do. And women are expressing frustration on social media because men don't process emotion the same way they do, right? That's not respecting the differences between men and women. And it's this false idea that men and women are exactly the same when we're not. We have different characteristics, different hormone levels, different body structures. Like, there's a lot of notable differences between the men and women, but women don't respect that. And I think this is one of the reasons why therapy is very why men don't really respect therapy, including me. Right. So I want to dive in a little bit more into this video, and I'm trying not to make this video too long. So let's get into the video.
And I do think that there is some truth to that. But I also think that there are some significant gender differences in communication styles. The idea that talking about your feelings or exploring your experience is helpful or rewarding is kind of absurd to a lot of guys. They look at therapy and think, you mean I gotta pay someone $200 an hour to sit there and listen to me complain? How does
Exactly. Men thinking, and maybe, you know, my female viewers, this is a valuable insight, right? Because I am a man. I don't respect therapy as much as a woman or other people would. That's how I look at it. Okay, if I want someone to sit here and listen to all my problems, I can just go to my wife. Hey, wife, come here. I need to talk to you about something. It's time for me to cash in all my tokens, right? Because that's what my wife does. Hey, can I talk to you about something, babe? I said, sure. You want me to fix it or you just want me to listen? I just want you to listen. Okay, babe. My wife can do that for free with me. She don't need to go pay. This is what I'm saying. It's like we give. It's almost like we're creating work for ourselves. Like we're trying to commoditize everything. Social social skills. Like these are things that I think if you come with a strong family, if you got a strong family unit, you're resilient to these things. And there's there's been studies shown that conservatives have their children of conservative parents have better mental health than kids coming from liberal parents. I wonder why. And I'll make a video if y'all don't believe me. I'll make a video on it. Why conservatives make better parents than liberals. I'll make it. Let me know in the comment section. Leave me a comment if you want to watch that video because I'll make it. I'll make it. I digress. Let's get back into it.
Does that actually solve anything? How about I keep my $200 and tell it to a brick wall instead? Men tend to be more logical and rational, and they approach their difficulties from a problem-solving perspective, whereas women tend to be more emotional and intuitive, and they approach their difficulties from an emotional coping perspective. I'm not saying that women can't be rational.
Yeah, what he's saying is men prefer to fix the problem to deal with the problem than to cope with the problem, right? Oh, men don't like me. Oh, you a bad bee. You're this. It's his loss. While if I was a man telling, let's say my daughter said, oh, I had a bad breakup, whatever, I'll say, hey, look, you weren't perfect in the situation. You probably did something that contributed to the outcome you get. Focus on what you can control. Focus on what you did. Improve on those so that way you're better for your next partner. That's how men tend to deal with problems. How can you improve from the setback, not how you deal with the setback? Women come from the perspective of how we deal with the setback instead of, hey, let's move on this. Let's move beyond this. Let's fix this. I mean, he's speaking my language right now. But I digress. Let's get back.
Men can't be emotional, but that on a population level, these differences tend to emerge statistically. And on the whole, the mental health profession has a reputation for using and actually does use non-directive, emotional coping approaches far more often than directive problem-solving strategies. And that's a bias that tends to conform with a more feminine approach to difficulties. It's not the right approach, nor is it the wrong approach, but it is just one approach.
And it's technically not catered to men. And then like this is supply and demand. If you're using a style that caters more to one group of people, you'll get more of those one group of people. My argument here is therapy today, modern therapy today, has niched itself as something for women and women mostly. This is why men don't go to therapy. Don't blame it on men. Oh, men are the problem. Men don't want to express their emotions. Men don't want. No, you didn't create a service that actually caters to the problems and how I process problems, how I deal with problems. So you're not marketed towards me. So stop trying to market towards me. Stop trying to get me and men like me, which is the majority, by the way, to conform and change to fit your service. No, that's not how it works. Business have to market to the customer. Not the customer has to conform to the business. That's not how capitalism works. This is not how reality works. It's a two-way street. You have something that I value, I'll pay for it. If you don't have what I don't, if you have something I don't value, then I won't pay for it. This is the same as having a all-female movie and then expect men to want to show up for it. This is the reputation that therapy has. And until therapy start understanding and respecting that men and women are different, this gender gap will continue to be expressed in the statistics. I digress.
Albeit an approach that currently enjoys a pretty substantial professional market share. And I think that it's this reputation of the mental health profession that keeps a lot of men away. Men don't see talking about problems as an end in itself, and I tend to agree with them. And that's why men tend to resonate with my approach to therapy, which is very active, challenging, rational, directive, and practical.
Yep.
However, my approach is not a common one.
This is why this is the kind of style. This is how my parenting style is also. This is why I'm a big favor of authoritative parenting. Look, I'm gonna have that debate, okay? But this is why I think fathers are important in the household, because daughters get exposed to that more direct, hey, toughen up, rise to the occasion, not coping with your loss, improvement. Right? I think that's important. And I think that's the kind of approach and parenting that fathers bring into the dynamic of child rearing. This is why kids tend to do better in two-parent households, because they're exposed to both styles. Right? So I'm going to let him speak up, because I believe if there was more therapists like this guy, I think you'll see more men being more open to therapy. But as the therapy industry, how is it currently set up right now? We don't want it. We rather buy a Jordan Peterson book and make our room and make our bed. Sorry. And that's about it. This is why Jordan Peterson is so popular with men. But I digress.
And I think that's kind of a problem. I think it's one of the ways, and there are several, in which my profession fails men. And I think that if this were addressed, if the rational argument for psychotherapy were made, I think we'd see more men use mental health services than we will as a result of the general public campaigns to reduce stigma.
Yep. I agree with that, right? Improve the product. Look at the product. Be self-critical. And it seems like that's a big thing we lack in our culture, and I believe is due to the fact that social media's ran, like a lot of women pushes their engagement, their usage, so it's catered a lot to females. It has this female feminine perspective about problems that you never are self-reflective. You always have to cope. You have to change. The burden is always on someone else and not never the profession itself. And I think this is why we can't take criticism in our culture today, is because we don't have any self-control. We have a lot of self-esteem, and self-esteem is very prideful and brittle. The minute you challenge it, it crumbles. And this is the inconvenient truth about therapy, is that it is not made for men. It is not centered around for men. It doesn't address the things that men need from therapy to actually improve their mental health. It's only focused exclusively or mostly through a woman-centered way of coping with problems instead of dealing with problems. Right. And until the therapeutic industry changes its approach, it's going to continue getting its outcome that it shouldn't really be complaining about. But this is the way of, if you want to expand your marketplace, every business understands that you have to market to a specific group a certain way. But only in therapy, only in the sciences, all these experts expect the customers themselves to magically appear and magically recognize that they have a problem. If man has $200, he'd rather spend it on something that he values in a more practical sense than sitting here sending it to someone that he could have just been sitting here on the camera talking to himself. Women always like to joke around. Oh, men don't go to therapy. They just start podcasts. There's a reason for that, because we're insinuating with our actions that the style of therapy you're doing, I can do for myself. I can get it from other men. I don't need to pay $200 to some professional with a college degree with some credentials to do something that I can go talk to my mom about. And that's the reality, and that's the inconvenient truth about therapy. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about therapy. You agree with me? Disagree with me? I like to hear all the arguments in the comment section, guys, on the next Inconvenient Truth. Peace.